Today I'm going to be ranking all 13 pay-per-views from 2022 on a tier list. So, starting it out with UFC 270, Ngannou vs. Ngannou defending his belt. I'll put this one in C tier. It was alright. Both the main event and co-main event were both controversial decisions. Moreno vs. Figueiredo 3 was a good fight, but Ngannou vs. Gane wasn't a great fight. For the last 3 rounds, Ngannou was just laying on him, and he had 2 controversial decisions. And other than that, nothing special on the card, to be honest. So, C tier for that. Moving on, UFC 271. I'll put this in B tier. I think Adesanya Whitaker was an alright fight. Pretty good fight for an Izzy fight. And Whitaker was robbed. But other than that, it had Tuivasa knocked out Derek Lewis, which was cool to see, and Cannonier had a good finish over Derek Brunson. So, yeah, I think those 2 fights get it in B tier, and Adesanya Whitaker was alright. So, moving on, UFC 272. I'll put this one in D tier. It had no title fights, and Covington versus Masvidal was the main event, it's a good rivalry, and the build-up was good, the press conference was good, but the fight itself wasn't a great fight. Covington just dominated him wrestling, and then other than that, Moicano was on the card, the GOAT, Money Moicano. That was sick, but he lost pretty badly to RDA. And yeah, other than that, nothing super memorable on that card. So, yeah, moving on to UFC 273. I think this was one of the most underrated cards of the year. I think this was a very good card, and I'll put it A tier. I'm going to put it in A tier. And Volk vs. TKZ was a fun fight. Volk just destroyed him. Jan vs. Sterling 2 was a good fight, good close fight. So, and of course, Gilbert Burns vs. Khamzat Chimaev was one of the best fights of the year. So, this is going to be an A tier. And other than those 3 fights, nothing super crazy. So, yeah, that's going to go in A tier. Probably towards the lower half of A tier, though. So, yep. Moving on to UFC 274. This fight was this card was not that good, to be honest. I'm gonna put this in C tier, but ahead of 270, because Oliveira vs. Gaethje was obviously a really good fight for the 1 round it had, very exciting. And then Chandler had an amazing knockout over Tony Ferguson, but I can't put it over C tier with the joke of a co-main event that it had Rose Namajunas and Carla Esparza. Like, what the fuck? Put on a show for the fans that are paying to watch the card. But nope, they just had like the most boring fight of the year. Which, yeah, with that being the co-main, I cannot put it any higher. So yeah. And moving on, UFC 275. This was a very good card. I'm gonna put it A tier over UFC 273. Obviously, Teixeira vs. Prohaska, amazing fight of the year. Shevchenko vs. Santos was good. Santos, that was very close, split decision. Santos arguably won that fight. And Weili vs. Joanna Jędrzejczyk 2 was good. Weili had a crazy spinning back fist knocked out Joanna Jędrzejczyk cold. So yeah, that's gonna go in A tier. And moving on, UFC 276. I'm gonna throw this one. I'll put this one B tier behind 271. This was a weird card. Adesanya vs. Cannonier was kind of boring. Volk vs. Holloway was good. Volk destroyed Holloway, but that was cool to see. It had O'Malley vs. Pedro Munoz on it, which was just a weird fight with the eye poke thing. And then it also had Alex Pereira knocking out Sean Strickland, which was cool, and Robbie Lawler versus Brian Barberena was a good fight too. So, yeah, B tier for that one. Moving on, UFC 277. I'm also going to put this one in B tier, the bottom of B tier. Nunes vs. Pena was alright, the rematch. Nunes just destroyed her. Moreno Car France was good. That was good to see Moreno look so good in a fight. And we had Sergey Pavlovich just destroyed Derek Lewis. So yeah, that was cool. 3 solid fights at the top. Not good, not bad. Kind of a mid card, but yeah, B tier for that one. Moving on, Usman versus Edwards 2. I'll put this top of C tier. I mean, Usman versus Edwards was kind of boring, to be honest. Like other than the first round when Edwards took down Usman and got on the back of Usman, it was, like the next few rounds were kind of boring until, of course, Edwards landed the kick, and the co-main was really good. Paulo Costa versus Luke Rockhold, and then Marab, fucking Marab versus Jose Aldo. Fuck Marab, he ruined that, man. He ruined that. That was such a boring fight, and then Jose Aldo retired. So yeah. Moving on, UFC 279. This is probably the worst pay per view of the year, to be honest. Hamzat fucked up. He really fucked up because the three like biggest fights all got switched up, which kind of caused the card to not be as good because the fighters were all fighting new opponents on like 24 hours notice. I mean, Diaz vs Ferguson was an alright fight. Khamzat Chimaev just destroyed Kevin Holland, and then D-Rod versus Leach was a decent fight, I guess. So yeah, that's D tier, probably worst pay per view of the year. Moving on, Oliveira versus Makhachev. I was so close to putting this S tier, so close, but top of A tier for me. Amazing, amazing card. Oliveira versus Makhachev was good, but Makhachev won that obviously. Sterling versus Dillashaw was weird, cause Dillashaw was just injured. Then of course Jan versus O'Malley was a banger. The Dariush fight was good, and then of course the GOAT Bilal on the card knocked out Sean Brady. So yeah, really good card. UFC 280. Moving on, UFC 281 in Madison Square Garden. This was in November. This is S tier, man. This is the best card of the year right here. I mean, Adesanya versus Pereira was good, and yeah, Izzy lost his belt. Wei Li versus Esparza was good. Wei Li just destroyed her. Poirier versus Chandler was an amazing fight. I mean, Frankie Edgar got knocked out, which was kind of sad to see in his last fight, but yeah. Dan Hooker had a good win on that card too. Renato Moicano, that post-fight interview was legendary. So yeah, this is S tier, best card of the year, or best pay-per-view of the year. And now the last one, this was in December, UFC 282. I'll put this top of B tier. Other than the last 2 fights, it was amazing. I mean, Blachowicz versus Ankalaev was a good fight, but the draw was like very anticlimactic. And of course, the Paddy Pimblett fight versus Jared Gordon was kind of mid because Paddy lost. But other than that, it was amazing. The prelims were very good. Raul Rosas was on it. Jorginho Rosenstrike had a knockout in like a minute, and then Darren Till versus Duplessis was pretty good. Ilya Topuria versus Bryce Mitchell was good. So yeah, that's gonna go top of B tier. And yeah, that's it. These are my rankings for all the UFC pay-per-views in 2022. See you in the next one.